Hello everyone and welcome. Today we have got a fun card, compliments of one of my viewers. I will not name them, but I had a viewer ask me if this dress from the Frank Garcia couture dress form would fit the Aloha gal from the Aloha Hula Spellbinders Club. And I said, I'll check it out. I've also got the 3D embossing folder that is called Ribbons and Seams, and we're going to use that and we're going to assemble. So my viewer asked, said, I wonder if that dress would fit on the hula girl. And I said, I don't know, but when I get home, I will check. And so when I got home, I promptly die cut this out. Didn't get the right color, so I'm bringing a Copic marker and adding a skin tone to it. And I checked it out and I responded back and I said, yes, it will fit. It's not exactly perfect, but it will work out pretty nice. So I'm just going to create it. I told my viewer, I said, I think I'm going to make a card with it. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm just adding some skin tone to this hula gal and just getting some color to it. I had grabbed, I think it was a gray, I think it was fall cardstock is what I don't know what I was thinking. I was just in a hurry because I wanted to see if it would work. And so I'm going to use some pink and just kind of dot the cheeks, the cheek area, just to add a little rosiness to her face. And then I am taking a blue marker and I'm creating some little Mary Jane shoes on her feet. Now I did try my summer embellishment die that had the flip-flops in there to see if those would fit on here, but they were too big. Her feet are just really small here. And then I just decided to color in some little ballerina, I don't know, Mary Jane type shoes on her. And so that's what I'm doing here. I'm putting the little cross strap on the front of the foot. Now I'm not going to attach the feet yet because I might want to make her taller or whatever. And so we're going to just bring in the dress. Now I've die cut the dress out of just some blue cardstock from Spellbinders, and we've got the little sleeves and there are 4 pieces to the ruffle sleeves, and I'm going to get those attached to the dress, and then we will get to assembling it on our gown. Now she does have that one arm that is off that you have to add, and you kind of have to work with it. That's one of the things you'll have to do. And then the other arm is kind of up in the air, so you'll want to come up with some type of a position for her. And I'll show you what I'm going to do with it. But I'm just going to layer these little ruffled sleeves up, and then we will get them attached to the dress. Just trying to make sure I got them lined up in the right direction. And you could leave this as just a strappy dress if you wanted to and not add these little pieces. But since we have them and it is a new set, I thought I'd just go ahead and add them. So now I'm just kind of lining it up. We'll just put a little dab of glue on there, and it's going to stick to my fingers. I'm going to fuss with these things, and we'll get that pressed down on there, and then we'll get the other one. I think it'll stick to my finger as well. And I'm just going to try and get my tweezers to get them where I want. I'm on the struggle bus here. I'm gluing them to my fingers. So we'll get this attached, and then we'll get this attached to our gal. So I'm going to bring in her hair. I've already got her hair die cut out. Actually, I'm going to put the ribbon. This is the waist, the ribbon that goes around the waist, like the belt area. And then we'll hang the ribbon on there. We've got the long ribbons, and then we've got the shorter ribbons, and then we've got the knots. So this is really her little tie is like a 4-piece tie. So we'll add the short ribbons to it. And then we'll get that teeny tiny, you can just see that tiny, tiny speck in my tray there. That is the little piece that will go like the knot to the tie. Cleaning up some glue, I'm going to put a dab of glue on there, and then we'll get that little piece and get it picked up and get it laid down on here. Now I'm going to need my wax tool for that, so I was looking for it. I'm going to grab it, and I got to look at it, I'm like, I think I need a little bit more glue on there. And so we'll get it laid down on there and get it positioned. So we've had a lot of storms lately, and today was very, very breezy, beautiful sunshiny day and blue skies, lots of breeze, very windy. And then it did cloud up a little bit as the day progressed. But here's where you're going to have to mess with her arm and you get the dress positioned on there. And I decided to trim her waist up. I wanted to angle the dress a certain way to get her arm to fit. So I just trimmed her waist away a little bit so that it wasn't peeking behind there. And I think I'll trim it away again. And then I'm going to tuck the arm under the dress sleeve and then position it kind of over her waist there. And I'm just angling it a little bit differently and trying to cover up as much of that detail that's on there, like the debossing that shows you where the arm goes. Trying to cover it up. Here I'm trimming it away just a little bit more just because of how I want to angle the dress. And then I'm going to tuck this back up in there and try to use that sleeve to cover up, you know, some of the debossed detail and get the arm just to where there is a little bit where you can see the debossed detail on there, but I think it works overall. And I'm going to get it laid down on here. And I'm just doing the top part of it because I'm not sure if I want to shove her legs up in there or how long I want her legs to be. And I'm just fussing with it and trying to get her arm positioned. And then just give it a little press. Here I'm just kind of still working that arm, trying to cover up as much of that detail that's on there. And then I've got her hair here, and I'm kind of eyeballing it, and then I'm like, I want to get her eyes on there. Now, I told you I used the summer embellishments accessories and was trying to see if these flip-flops would work, but they won't. But I thought this is a perfect shape I can add behind her head for her eyes. And so I'm just going to put this little piece down here, and she's going to have some dark blue eyes. This is just some Cosmic Sky cardstock, and we'll just position that behind her. Here's where I'm going to lay her, glue her down there, and then I can just position the legs however I want. I'm going to go ahead and get her laid down on her hair, and I'm kind of angling it a little bit different than it's meant to be on here, but we'll get her laid down on there. Just getting her, trying to get her lined up. There we go. Now I'm going to bring her legs in, and you can make her as tall as you want. And I've extended them a little bit longer than what it would be if you laid it on the debossed detail of the actual upper body. And so there we go. I think she's super cute. I think the dress does work out pretty well with her. So I'll just lay her aside. We were going to go ahead and bring in the dress form because she's shopping. She's trying to decide if she wants a solid blue dress or if she wants a striped blue dress with a white sash. And so she's shopping, and we're going to put this dress on the dress form. So we're just going to go through the same process of assembling the dress, and then we'll get it laid down on the dress form, and we'll have the elements, the focal elements for our card. I just took some pattern paper. This is pattern paper from Not Too Shabby, and chose kind of another blue just to kind of keep my color scheme similar. And I'm laying the knot down on there, just getting it lined up. And then I've taken the sleeves and I've die cut them out in white. And we're just going to have a white sash and then white ruffled sleeves for this dress. And I don't know, maybe this is her favorite style of dress, and so she's buying a second one. I know when I get a certain style of something, I will buy multiples. I did that one time with shoes, and I have a funny story about that. And I had a blue pair and a brown pair, and I loved them because they're really comfortable, and they were dress shoes for work. And when I find something I like, I bought them in two colors. Well, then I was actually interviewing for a new job. In fact, the job that was my career at the bank. And I spent my career in HR, and I was actually, for the most part, did HR, but I did other things at the bank as well as I accelerated up through the bank. But anyway, I was interviewing they needed an HR person for the bank. This is when they hadn't really had one, and their attorney had advised them that they needed one. And so the attorney was recruiting for the position, and he had recruited me, and he said, let's just go to breakfast on Saturday morning. And so I had met him at a Bob Evans, kind of in a halfway point between where he was at and I was at. And I had put one of those blue shoes on and one of those brown shoes on because I'd gotten up early and tried to dress kind of in the dark so that I wouldn't wake up my husband. And I wound up going to that interview with a blue shoe and a brown shoe on. And I didn't realize until after I left the interview and was getting into the car. And it was so funny through the interview. I thought, wow, this is going really well. I, just feeling pretty good about myself. And then I got in the car and realized I had on a blue shoe and a brown shoe. And I was like, oh my gosh. Well, anyway, they hired me anyway. So then when they hired me, or when he, actually he suggested that I interview with the executive team. And so then I went in and interviewed with 5 men. And eventually wound up getting the position, but I remember telling the executive members that I had gone to that interview with those 2 different colored shoes on, which was funny. So anyway, but I had a wonderful career with a wonderful family-owned, privately held bank, and really enjoyed working there. So anyway, that's just my funny little story as I'm telling you while I was assembling that. I've got a little speck on here I'm going to wipe off with a little glue eraser, and we're going to get our dress form and our little gal laid down on this perfect arch that I've got here. I've got my embossed panel there, and we're going to just put this together. We've got a really fun and cute fast card, and I am so thankful for my subscriber for suggesting it because I hadn't thought of it, and it was just a genius idea. So we'll get some glue on here and we'll get this laid down. Perhaps maybe somebody else had thought of this. I didn't, but my subscriber did, and I was thankful. And just making a fun little use out of a couple of sets and pairing them together and coming up with something a little bit different. So I'm just studying it, trying to figure out, is she too high? And I'm going to go with it, and we'll get our little dress form laid down on here. And I've got her little arm like she's looking at the dress. I thought that would work with her arm since her, her arm is kind of up in the air, like she's kind of checking the dress out. And so we'll just get it laid down on here and give it a press. And if I'd had used mirrored cardstock, it could have been a mirror that she was looking in. I think that would have been fun too. Could have been like her reflection in the mirror maybe. So I'm going to put some foam squares on here and pop this up, and then we'll get it laid down on the card. Now, a minute ago, you probably heard my oven preheat because it beeped pretty loudly. I'm trying a new recipe. It's like a Italian chicken. I've got some chicken breast with some marinara sauce in there, and I've got it cooking. And I'm going to pair it with some blackened broccoli, and that's what we're going to have for dinner. So it's cooking, and I'm doing the voiceover. So I'm going to get my arch laid down on here. This 3D embossed panel is gorgeous. I've just used some anchor cardstock from Spellbinders, and I'm laying it on there. I thought it would pair nicely with the blue, and it's a little different color. I'm bringing in those gems from the Weekender. You've got black and white. I don't know. It's like a rhinestone type thing, and I'm going to use some of those on here just to add a little bling bling to it. And I'm trying to figure out where to put them. I'm just going to put a couple up there by her, and then we'll put a couple more down below the dress form and just add some sparkle to it. And I probably should have added my sentiment before I did this, but I had to go searching for a sentiment for this card. I just really got into my stash. I've got a little container that I throw all the leftover sentiments in, and I did go shopping in that and found a sentiment. I also had a die set laying on my desk that I'm going to work with later that had a ribbon, like a bow in it, and I thought, I'll put a bow in her hair. So I just took my Cosmic Sky cardstock and I die cut out a bow. We're going to add it to her hair, and then I'm going to bring in one of those sentiments that were laying in the tray. I'm thinking about putting a gem on there, but I'll decide against that. And I'm going to bring in this pressed sentiment that says "Charmed to Know You." And it was in blue, and I thought it would fit from a size standpoint. And I thought she might be looking at that dress thinking, oh, charmed to know you. Anyway, whatever. We're going to get this laid down on there. I think it's a cute use of it, and I'm thankful for my subscribers suggesting it, and just wanted to share the idea with you guys. So we'll get this laid down on there. And we've got a cute little card. So I hope you like it. I've taken a couple pictures so that you can check it out and see a close-up view of it. I think it turned out fairly nice, and it worked out. So thank you to my subscriber.